When this lunatic knew that he had killed, he went into denial. A caller called 911, stating her emergency that her friend is not breathing and she might have drunk a little extra. When the police arrived, they saw the physical injuries and the violent nature of Yardley's death pointed to a possible murder. The police immediately began their investigation to uncover the truth behind Yardley's tragic demise. Let's get started. On the 3rd of May of 2010, a distressing scene unfolded when Yardley Love's roommate, Caitlin, entered their college apartment. To her horror, she discovered Yardley's lifeless body lying face down in a pool of blood. The discovery immediately raised suspicions of murder. The crime scene revealed disturbing physical injuries on Yardley's body. She had a black eye, bruising along the right side of her face, and large bleeding gashes on her legs. Upon receiving the distress call, the police arrived at the apartment a few minutes later. When one roommate of Yardley came back to the room, she saw her room's door was punched and broken, and in the middle of the floor was Yardley's body. Caitlin immediately called the police to the scene. Yardley was a talented college student and athlete who had recently broken up with her boyfriend, George Hewley. George had a violent past and a history of alcohol abuse and anger issues. Friends of Yardley suspected George as the suspect due to his violent behavior and their recent breakup, as he has written in one of their emails that "I should kill you." So George was called for interrogation and was recorded with a police camera. The interview starts and the detective told George that he was charged with Yardley's murder and brought in for questioning, unaware that she was dead. The questioning begins by asking George where he was on the day the murder took place, to which he answered that he went with his dad and friends for dinner, after which he went to a bar and had 2 beers, and then he met Yardley Love, his former girlfriend. George told the whole incident to the detective and told his side of the story. He added unnecessary details and repeated himself quite often, his initial attempt to downplay his involvement. It came as no surprise to the investigators and prosecutors handling the case. He also told them that when they broke up, Yardley came to his apartment first and assaulted him.
What happened next, and she just kept hitting her head against the wall while she was sitting on the bed, and I was like, and I grabbed her and I shook her. I was like, stop, we need to, and looked at her. I was like, we need to, talk about this. And, I was holding her arms and stuff, but, I never struck her. I never, hit her, in the face or anything. I was just like, we need to talk, and she was so, floppy, a fish out of the water, all this, all because of what happened last week. And I was like, listen, I'm not here to fight with you or do anything, here to talk to you. And she's like, no, get away from me, all this, and that's what happened. I left, she was in her bed. I think her nose was bleeding a little bit.
He stated that he has never hit the girl or struck her at all. So the detective asked about Yardley's room's gate, to which the guy said that the front gate was open and her bedroom was locked, and he knocked and called her name. That's when the detective then asked about the door, if her bedroom's door was hard or easy to break, to which the detective said that it was locked. At that time, he understood that he should say what was exactly, or else things would not be in his favor for long.
Her door, the front door?
Her door.
Actually, it might have been locked.
It was.
He started fumbling with his own words and got nervous and taken aback, and with the weight of his guilt weighing heavily upon him, George eventually confessed to his violent actions. He admitted to punching a hole in the door in a fit of anger, reflecting the volatile nature of his temper. Moreover, he disclosed that he had physically restrained Yardley during their altercation, a disturbing revelation that painted a distressing picture of the events that unfolded. The detective asked why to show such behavior and whether it was there in the past. The detective strategically probed him about incidents that had occurred prior to the day of Yardley's murder. By delving into his past, the detective aimed to establish a pattern of aggression and paint a comprehensive picture of George's volatile character, though he talks about how Yardley has attacked him. And they were wrestling, and she accidentally hit her nose on the ground, which resulted in bleeding. He then told her to sit on the bed.
And then we wrestled on the ground the same way. Her nose started bleeding.
The detective brings up the possibility that George may have grabbed Yardley's neck. The suggestion is intended to explore the extent of the injuries and to provoke a reaction from George. The detective brings up Yardley's injuries, specifically her black eye and the bruising on her face. She asked George why Yardley had these injuries, and implies that he was responsible for them. After a short break, the detective came back to talk with the 22-year-old and pressurizes him to spill whatever is the truth. The detective introduces the topic of their past relationship, asking if there were any arguments or instances of physical violence between them. This line of questioning is aimed at uncovering any history of aggression that could be connected to Yardley's injuries. By mentioning that they have spoken to other people and have gathered additional information, the detective implies there might be witnesses or evidence that George is unaware of. The officer asks why the girl came out of the blue and hit him, to which George replied that he has 4 witnesses for that. She came in the other night and started hitting him, and when he told her to back off, she didn't stop. Then the officer asked, "Why did you break the door?" To which George said he wanted to talk to her.
First hit me with her cell phone, and literally when I stood up and backed away, it was like, you got to stop, like, get away from me, she came, kind of coming back for more.
Okay. Why in the heck would you break down her door then? Locked door means don't come
to
in.
Talk to her, and
The detective further challenges George's narrative by questioning the events leading up to Yardley's death. The detective asks about the text messages found on George's phone, implying that they contain incriminating evidence. This prompts George to explain that Yardley had attacked him on a previous occasion, justifying his actions as self-defense. The detective counters this by highlighting the inconsistency in George's statements, asking why Yardley would suddenly attack him for no reason. As the detective's relentless questioning progresses, George's composure begins to crumble. The weight of the evidence against him, combined with the mounting pressure and the detective's strategic approach, leaves him increasingly panicked. A mix of fear, guilt, and confusion swirls within him, clouding his thoughts and emotions. At a critical moment in the interrogation, the detective confronts George with the revelation that Yardley is dead and that he is the one responsible for her death. George's panic intensifies as he grapples with the realization that his actions, however unintended, resulted in the loss of someone's life. The weight of his guilt becomes almost unbearable, and he begins to comprehend the irreversible consequences of his choices. The magnitude of the situation dawns on him, and a deep sense of remorse washes over him.
You cracked her head in the window or in the wall. She is.
she's not
I ain't BSing you. Right now, it's serious. George,
She is dead.
did you hold her head into the wall? Did you crack it?
No.
Did you
Is her head
smack
cracked?
Did you smack her head in the wall?
No, she's not dead. She's not dead. You guys said she has a black eye and a bump on her head.
She has those things.
But she's not dead. I did not.
All right, let's calm down.
I did not like hurt her. Like she's not dead.
Calm down a minute, George, okay?
Tell me she's not dead. Tell me she's not dead.
I want you to calm down right now, okay?
Will you tell me she's not dead?
Relax.
Please, will you tell me
You know what? I wish I
could.
could tell you that, George. 22-year-old. 22. And her life is done.
Kill me. She can't be dead.
Following the conclusion of the investigation and legal proceedings, George is ultimately found guilty of Yardley Love's murder. The court, taking into account the unintentional nature of the act, delivers a sentence of 23 years in prison. The judge's decision reflects the seriousness of the crime committed while also acknowledging George's realization of his unintended role in Yardley's death.